We're joined now to talk about crop marketing with our crop marketing specialist, Dr. Todd Hubbs. And Todd, some key USDA reports for the quarter were released this week.
Yes, on Tuesday, the Prospective plantings report, which is our first indication of 2026 spring crop acreage, and an update on our winter crops like winter wheat, and the grain stocks report, which gives us an idea of stocks on hand on March 1st.
So those arrive and you start kind of poring over and analyzing the numbers. What are some of your key takeaways that you're talking about with producers?
It wasn't a huge market mover for most of our crops. Now, having said that, wheat acreage is down. Our winter wheat acreage that we got in the winter seedings report in January showed even lower acres in the Prospective plantings report. And wheat acreage in general is down. Spring wheat acreage up in the northern plains is lower. Looks like canola got some of that. And durum acreage is down. And even the soft red winter wheat acreage out in the eastern part of the Corn Belt, all those acreage levels were down. So in general, that's supportive for wheat because less acres is less crop. We saw a lot more acres for oil seeds that are involved in biofuels, which makes sense given all this discussion about the renewable fuel standard and the volume obligations that recently came out. And in general, the grain stocks reports were relatively neutral. The corn stocks were a little over 9 billion bushels, which is supportive for corn because I think people were fading it, wondering if the feed and residual was that large. And what that indicated is we're on track for USDA's demand, so that was nice. But otherwise, stocks relatively neutral, acreage, less wheat, a little more corn than people thought, a little less soybeans than people thought.
Dive a little bit more into your thoughts on corn and kind of what you're seeing there.
We had 95.3 million acres intended to be planted. That's what USDA said for their March survey. That's a little bit higher. It's about 1 million acres higher than the trade thought. The industry was thinking 94.4, somewhere in that range. I always thought it would be a little bit higher, and I would be cautious, and if you're a marketer of corn, to start fading that number very much. There's a lot of good reasons to think the acreage might not be that high. When they surveyed the folks, and we've had fertilizer at higher prices, diesel at higher prices, and those things are probably going to be around for a bit, even if we resolve the war tomorrow. But diesel's true for any of the crops, and I think a lot of the fertilizer has been pre-booked for most folks. If you didn't, that's really going to compress your margins, and I feel for you. But I think a lot of people in the Corn Belt probably had that fertilizer locked up. So when we get out there and start rolling the planters and corn's getting planted, if it's getting planted in a timely manner, there's a tendency they like to plant corn, right? So don't get carried away with thinking that's going to get lower. 4 out of the last 5 years, the final corn number was higher than the March intentions. Now, I don't think it's going to be a huge shift this year, but I'm not actually fading that 95.3 either. Now, we'll see how it turns out as we move through the next 3 months and into the planting season. But in general, I think that number's probably close to where we're going to be. You could fade a little, but don't be expecting some 2 or 3 million acres to come out of that.
We have to talk about the weather too, and kind of the truth of it all for farming, which is always the case, but in Oklahoma especially, we're really counting on the rain and all that we can get the next few weeks for the wheat crop and obviously for planting other crops.
We're hoping to get a couple inches of rain over the next week. It is dry west of I-35, and the same is true for western Kansas. We've seen winter wheat conditions in Kansas deteriorating a lot. There's been some talk about crop insurance adjusters being already out in southwestern Oklahoma doing some adjusting. And it's just crazy dry. And even if we start getting rain now, you're wondering like what kind of acreage we're going to see and what kind of yield we're going to see. April and May tend to make the crop, but this has been a rough winter. And so we need the moisture, and we'll see how it turns out. I expect we're going to get the first crop conditions reports next week on Monday. You're going to start seeing a lot of noise about that, folks, and I expect those to be pretty poor when they come out next week, so it's something to pay attention to.
All righty. Todd, lots of great information. Thanks for your analysis, and we'll see you again soon.